Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. My name is Rory. If you've never been here before, this is where we write stories live because I'm a writer based in Vancouver. This is the YouTube channel Varietal Literature. We have a web page where you can read short stories and poems and experimental fiction and choose your own adventures and various other things from a group of Vancouver writers. That's varietal-literature.ca. That is in the description. If you are just here, though, to find out about the title, well, let me explain what we're going to do today. On Varietal Show, we do a few things, but the main thing we do is Lit Games, which stands for Literature Games, which is where I write stuff, and you kind of mess with me in chat, or participate in one way or another in that writing. And today we're going to take a game called Super Fight. Super Fight is a card game. We're not really going to play it right, because it wouldn't work, especially with the lag between me and chat. Pardon me. A little phlegmy in the throat here. But I noticed that GS here says they don't know anything about Mortal Kombat. That's not going to matter. To disappoint Nathan here, says this better go deep into Mortal Kombat lore. It will not. All it's really going to do is take that setting of a fight to the death that Mortal Kombat is about in sort of a supernatural plane. But the game Super Fight, here's how it works. It's just a set of cards. This is from Skybound Games by Jack Dyer. And the idea is you're supposed to pull a card at random that has a name on it. That's the white cards. And when you're playing with friends, basically what will happen is you each pull a card, and then you have to make a case why the card you pulled could beat the card that the other player pulled. You each have a chance to make your case, and then everybody votes on it. And it's silliness, right? It's a silly game. However, that's not exactly how we're going to work with today. We're going to pull out, I'm going to pull out a few white cards when we're playing here. And you can see they say things like Hannibal, or an angel, or a mafia don. Or we'll do one more example here. Iron Man. Okay. So you pull out a white card, and I'm going to pick a competitor. And then chat, you're going to pick a competitor. And then I'm going to write how that fight goes. And we'll see who wins it. But there's one more twist to it. In the middle of that, you can choose to give your competitor a special card. These are the black cards. Now, the black cards give special abilities to your character, but they can be a debuff or they can be a buff. So, for example, there's one here that is just drank 5 energy drinks. Or there's another one in here that says is Amish, which, I don't know, may or may not be helpful. So there are, in other words, cards here for people that will be fighting. And then there are cards here for special abilities. And I'm going to say that once we sort of get into the competitors going at it, instead of like us making a case, because obviously that's not going to sync up well with chat, I'm going to start writing how that fight is going. And then you in chat will have an opportunity to make the case for like what your character, the one you guys chose and are rooting for, will do. And I'll try to be as unbiased as possible in the writing of it, because I'll have my own character that I'm backing. And we'll have a chance. If enough people vote for it, you will be able to draw one of the black cards here and add a power to your character. And hopefully by the end of it, we'll have a cool little short segment about little short stories about stupid fights. There's like Fred Rogers and giraffes in here and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll be fun. I was going to do something else, but I'll do it later. Why don't we just go straight to the game? I got enough people here. Let's go straight to the lit game. So that means that it is time for me to be better organized. Come on. Am I blind? Yeah, okay. Why can I? Oh, I know why I can't see it. Oh, not blind, I'm dumb. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Streamer dumb. There we go. Oh my god, come on. Come on. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. There we are. That is the longest that anyone has ever taken to pull a title card up. Okay, so chat. I know that was a lot of information really quick, so you and me, chat. Oh, this could be really fun, but it does require a little bit of participation from you. I'm going to randomly pull from this white stack of cards. I'm going to randomly pull 4 cards. From those 4 cards, you are going to pick first your challenger, and then I will pick from the remaining my challenger. And then we will start writing. Okay. And if you're worried that like I fixed the game or anything, then you haven't been paying attention, because I don't know how you could possibly fix this game. Okay, so chat, I hope you're paying attention, because here comes your choices, and you're going to pick your competitor straight majority rules, all right? So you might need to talk to each other a bit. Option 1 is a skeleton, if I'm reading that correctly. Option 2 is kindergarten class. Ooh, a whole class. Option 3 is the Blob. And option 4 is an electric eel. Okay, so out of those, which ones do you want to do, chat? Who is your challenger in the Mortal Kombat pit? I was going to use the Mortal Kombat music, but as you can probably imagine, that would get me copyright strikes. GS says Blob. Of course, Blob, known primarily for the 1950 sci-fi film where a slow-moving blob moves through the street. It was apparently riveting at a certain time in film history. Something tells me that that's... I don't know, they're remaking everything, but something tells me that's not a remake on the horizon. Okay, so we got 1 vote for Blob. I'm looking over this. And I have something I would choose. I don't want to tip my hand here. Oh, okay, we gotta vote for kindergarten class. So it's 50-50 right now. Blob or kindergarten class. You know, and it's worth pointing out that, like, you kind of have to make a case for, like, how a thing could be resistant to another competitor. So, well, you know what we do when we have... Okay, oh, Suki's voting for kindergarten class. Okay, so we have votes. So your challenger that you send down to the ring is the kindergarten class. I did think about, like, dedicating a whole camera to just looking at what card was up, but there just was no way for me to rig it up, unfortunately. Suki says, but I would feel bad if they got hurt. They're resilient. Although I guess Mortal Kombat, I've already set it up as being a fight to the death. Yeah, you know, I'm going to go with Blob. That's going to be my challenger. My challenger is going to be the Blob. Okay, so let's set the scene, and then we can start talking about what powers. Now, here's what you need to do, chat. You need to come up with some reasons why your competitor is going to win. You know, you don't necessarily, like, whatever you put in there will work in over due time, but you kind of have to make a case now as to why your kindergarten class could win against the Blob. So, our first challenger in fight, and I honestly don't know how many we'll get through today. I mean, it's possible we'll just have a lot of fun with one, and we'll just do one. Or it's entirely possible that I want that to fit on one line. We're taking it down a bit. There we go. It's entirely possible that, like, if we're not having a lot of fun with a certain pairing, we'll pull again. Okay, so kindergarten class. All right, so I think the kindergarten class has got to come out first because it's probably going to be quicker and they're the most impatient. So the crowd roars for blood and pounds at the corrugated, rusted metal walls, creating a cacophony of howling madness around the pit of death. I see chat's already getting into how could it be that a kindergarten class is the one that defeats the Blob. Okay. The crowd roars for blood and pounds at the corrugated rusted metal walls, creating a cacophony of howling madness around the pit of death. The first gate creaks open. By the way, if this goes well, I genuinely think I might do this again, because when I had the idea, it was one of the first times I was like, can I stream right now? I would love to do this. I haven't really ever had a repeating segment on the Varietal Show, but like a specific game or something. But obviously, at some point, I'm gonna have to do that because, you know, it's 52 ideas a year. It's gonna run out. The brain, I'm not that creative. The first gate creaks open, and the bone. The bone cage is removed from a roiling mass of small fists and untied shoes that stumble and scream into the dusty center. Nathan is saying that one of the big advantages, which I agree with, of kindergarten class is that they will eat anything, even a blob. Yeah, and they probably could stomach it too. The announcer squeals through. Come on. Jesus. Can I type this word, please? The announcer squeals through the PA system. To the floor! I just about gagged on my own hair there. Just a second. That would have been a wonderful stream moment. Is Mrs. Patterson's first year class undefeated in the lower rounds. 200 dead before their sneakered feet. But then a hush comes over the crowd as the second gate oh, I got a good one here. Remains closed. Why did I write then twice? But then a hush comes over the crowd as the second gate remains closed. Yet the competitor oozes from its confines all the same. Now, the announcer pierces the silence. Approaching the competition. Approaching the competition. The brainless, aimless, and seemingly immune to all damage, Blob! Fighters! Fight! And the crowd throws money across the aisles as the two competitors, one facing certain death, encircle the other. Okay. So, let's look at what we got here. Okay, so the first thing that came up was the 40 fists and feet. So, the first strike comes from the kindergartners. From the K5 kill team, let's call it that. K5 kill team. That lands its legendary 40 fists and kicking feet combo. The crowd roars as the unnamed ooze splatters against their faces and the surrounding blood-soaked walls. The children cry, "I'm bored!" Their beckoning call of certain death. Okay, so how is my blob gonna respond? The blob ripples back from their bludgeoning bludgeoning and uses that momentum to slap the front line with a wave of ooze, suspending 5 or 6 of the children into itself. All right, now. Oh, I see a way we can mix it. GS is saying the kindergartens throw their apple slices into the glue, Once the kid's glasses get stuck in it, he cries. Throw their apple slices into the goo. So we'll say that's a buff. The children recoil from this surprising move. And buff their next attack by tossing slices of apples into the blob. They then quickly dart about the outer rim, shouting, "You can't catch me!" And indeed, the blob lacks the dexterity to land the hit. All right. How's my blob going to respond then? Well, it can't. It can't catch up to them. I think this is a serious problem. I unless they come and hit it, I don't see what they can do. GS says, a chorus of "I have to go pee, Mrs. Patterson" gives the blob a brief opportunity to spread and cause several children to slip and fall. Ooh. Then that's what it'll do. And indeed, the blob lacks the dexterity to land the hit. Hey, look, Spam's back. Hello, Spam. How are you doing? As per usual, I only wish you the best, and by the best, I mean to burn in hell. Let's remove you and report you. There we go. Goodbye. Goodbye, Spam. Yes, I know you have. Thank you for recording it. YouTube. You think YouTube could maybe screen some names? Like, look at that name. What is that? Gapixum Fuku? Pretty sure that's just randomly generated. Okay, so, and indeed, the blob lacks the dexterity to land the hit. However, the children, despite Mrs. Patterson's warnings, did not go to the bathroom prior to the death fight. The K5 kill team breaks into a chorus of complaints about how desperately they must pee. This distraction allows the blob to net a few feet of three of a few children and drag them towards itself. However, the blob underestimated the appetites of a K5 class and failed to understand the apple slice move as with with the ferocity of a Wolverine on a rat. I don't know, do Wolverines eat rat? They descend on the blob and tear it apart to eat it. The blob is destroyed as a cow might in a hungry pack of piranhas. Occurs to me I don't really know how to spell that. No, I really didn't. Hungry pack of piranhas. Victory to the K5 kill team. Okay. All right. I'll read that one back quick, and then we will... I'm going to shrink this text down a bit. It's a little big. It's a little big. I want it to be easy to read, but it's also getting a little clunky here. I think we can all agree. Yeah. Sure. I think that's enough. The crowd roars for blood and pounds at the corrugated, rusted metal walls, creating a cacophony of howling madness around the pit of death. The first gate creaks open and the bone cage is removed from a roiling mass of small fists and untied shoes that stumble and scream into the dusty center. The announcer squeals through the PA system. To the floor is Mrs. Patterson's first-year class. Undefeated in the lower rounds, 200 dead before their sneakered feet. But then a hush comes over the crowd as the second gate remains closed, yet the competitor oozes from its confines all the same. Now, said the announcer, pierces the silence. Approaching the competition, the brainless, aimless, and seemingly immune to all damage, Blob! Fighters, fight! And the crowd throws money across the aisles as the two competitors, one facing certain death, encircle the other. The first strike comes from the K5 kill team that lands its legendary 40 fists and kicking feet combo. The crowd roars as the unnamed ooze splatters against their faces and the surrounding blood-soaked walls. The children cry, I'm bored! Their beckoning call of certain death. The blob ripples back from their bludgeoning and uses their momentum to slap the front line with a wave of ooze, suspending 5 or 6 of the children into itself. The children recoil from this surprising move and buff their next attack by tossing slices of apple into the blob. They then quickly dart about the outer rim, shouting, You can't catch me! And indeed, the blob lacks the dexterity to land the hit. However, the children, despite Mrs. Patterson's warnings, did not go to the bathroom prior to the death fight. The K5 kill team breaks into a chorus of complaints about how desperately they must pee. This distraction allows the blob to net a few feet of a few children and drag them towards itself. However, the blob underestimated the appetites of the K5 class and failed to understand the apple slice move. With the ferocity of a wolverine on a rat, they descend on the blob and tear it apart to eat it. The blob is destroyed as a cow might and a hungry pack of piranhas. Victory to the K5 kill team. All right. Which means we got to draw more cards. Let's see. So we're going to take Blob and kindergarten class out of the competition, but kindergarten class wins that round. Let's do one more. That took about a half an hour, so I think we can do one more. Once again, I will draw 4, and we'll get votes from the crowd. 1, 2, just so you know, very random. I'm not looking at them. 3, 4. Okay. By the way, if you're wondering, I thought we were doing antidepressant streams this month. This is an antidepressant stream because I really like board games. I have like 3 cupboards full of board games. So I was trying to think of a way to work a board game in, and that was the genesis of this. Obviously, it's hard to play board game with chat, but this is one way to do it. Okay, well, we've got variety. I will say that. So, chat, remember, you need to pick your competitor for the death pits of the Mortal Kombat arena. What's that get me flagged? The first one is 101 Dalmatians. The second one is a giraffe. I don't know if you've ever seen a giraffe fight. They're terrifying. The third one is Bruce Lee. And the fourth one is Hillary Clinton, Democratic candidate in 2016, Secretary of State, a bunch of other things. Okay, so chat. 101 Dalmatians, Giraffe, Bruce Lee, or Hillary Clinton. Who is your competitor? Who are you bringing into the field here? This is for round 2. I'm gonna drink some water. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're getting votes for Bruce Lee. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure Nathan had to take off. Because he has other responsibilities. But I feel like I can reasonably vouch, because I do know Nathan. I can reasonably vouch that Nathan would vote for Bruce Lee as well. So we'll make Bruce Lee chat's choice. Which means I have Hillary Clinton, 101 Dalmatians, and a giraffe. I'm gonna go with a giraffe. I don't really want to kill dogs. And I feel like the only jokes to be made about the other one are going to be jokes I don't really want to make on a stream like this. So, Giraffe versus Bruce Lee. Now this is a tight one. As the children are dragged away from their kill with tummy aches, the next fight is prepared. The headline fight of the night. Now, I think the challenge for you, Chad, is you got to come up with ways that Bruce Lee could seriously deal any damage to a giraffe. Those things are pure muscle and kind of out of his reach. Okay. So, the headline, I don't like having fight twice there. Let's say headliner of the night. The headliner of the night. The first door draws up, and there is a calm silence behind it. No shouting, no grandstanding. Just a stoic man, long thought dead, with a single gray hair and a perfect physique. Suki doesn't want to hurt the giraffe. Well, I don't know if it helps any, but none of this is real. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you guys got to call for the black cards. If you want to do, are we calling for a black card? Okay, let's see if a black card. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a black card, and I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to place it next to your card, so I've just put one there. Then I'm going to draw another black card. It's going to be my black card. I'm going to place it next to mine. And it will be our mid-fight turn. Okay, so a single gray hair and perfect physique. The dragon. The snake. The killer with the 1-inch punch. I realize that's also an anime. Bruce Lee. The crowd in awe says little, but you can still hear the rustling of dirty dollars and betting slips. Bruce keeps his eyes fixed on his competitor's door ahead. There is a thump. Actually, here, let me do one more thing. The announcer says nothing, for there is nothing to be said. All know who he is and what he can do. There is a thump against the bone and metal cage. Yet to open. A broken, braying howl echoes into the stadium as another blast hammers against the hinges of the door. And competing to the death with the dragon himself, a plain old giraffe. The gate draws up. The crowd somewhat cheers, but mostly seems confused. Betting is still happening, though it's obvious few know where to lay the money. Bruce is stoic, takes a stance with an extended and perfectly muscular arm. It's so different to call him just Bruce. Like, he's always Bruce Lee. You don't think about the fact that, like, Bruce sounds like an Australian guy. GS says, hope it's not an Amish giraffe. Oh yeah, well then it's over. Yeah, you know, Amish, whatever power that's gonna give it. Takes a stance with an extended and perfectly muscular arm at the guard. The giraffe, however, just wobbles its head wildly and like a rocking horse out of control, canters, I guess? Canters towards, or charges, I should say, I guess. Charges towards Bruce. swinging its head down and into the side. Bruce is quick to block, but the sheer force lifts him 20 feet up and leaves him to fall. Bruce quickly rolls out the fall. And reassesses. Then reassesses his approach. Okay. Chat. What is Bruce going to do? I don't see any ideas here. I'm going to draw your card. I'm going to draw your card, see what happens. Oh no. I think I'm actually going to let you draw again because I don't see how... I don't know how you could possibly win this. Oh, I guess I have an idea, but it kind of takes agency away from you. Your card is Pacifist. Pacifist. Okay, well that works with the suggestion we got from GS, with his cat-like sounds, which confused the giraffe, because he does do that kind of yeah that he was very famous for. Realizing he cannot possibly deliver enough damage to a beast of this size and power, Bruce taunts it with wild cat sounds that ring old memories of the Serengeti and the great tall giraffes' instincts, or mind, I guess. Whipping into a frenzy, the giraffe charges where the sound was made, and Bruce rolls ably out of the way. Unable to come to a stop, it slams into the wall. Oh, I see, yeah. That's a difficult card, says Suki, and Gia says Rory will rise to the challenge. Probably. We'll see. This is repeated several times, dazing the giraffe, but also teaching it. For the giraffe, smarter than Bruce assumed. Okay, let's see what my card is. I think it's my card time. Oh. Can only move when opponent moves. Alright. Can only move when opponent moves. The giraffe then calms itself and begins to follow every step. Hey, Big Drew's here! Good to see you, Big Drew. I would win in every fight, they say. Drew, you're missing one that I think you would have really enjoyed. GS says Bruce can mesmerize the giraffe. Yeah, that's true. The giraffe then calms itself and begins to follow every step of Bruce's in complete sync. Can't believe we got 2 pacifist cards, basically. Bruce recognizing this stalemate and being famously smarter than a giraffe, rushes towards the giraffe, but slides underneath at the point of contact. Big Drew's faking spam. But slides underneath at the point of contact, causing the giraffe to overshoot and slam into a post, knocking it down for a TKO. There we go. Just for Suki. It didn't die. Victor says, I'm also smarter than a giraffe. Well, prove it. I mean, giraffes are pretty smart. Okay, so let's read that second fight. And then I'll do a couple of other things here, and we'll call it a day. This is round 2, Giraffe versus Bruce Lee. As the children are dragged away from their kill with tummy aches, the next fight is prepared, the headliner of the night. The first door draws up and there is a calm silence behind it. No shouting, no grandstanding, just a stoic man long thought dead with a single gray hair and perfect physique. The dragon, the snake, the killer with the 1-inch punch, Bruce Lee. The crowd in awe says little, but you can still hear the rustling of dirty dollars and betting slips. Bruce keeps his eyes fixed on his competitor's door ahead. The announcer says nothing, for there is nothing to be said. All know who he is and what he can do. There is a thump against the bone metal cage yet to open. A broken braying howl echoes into the stadium as another blast hammers against the hinges of the door, and competing to the death with the dragon himself, a plain old giraffe. The gate draws up, the crowd somewhat cheers, but mostly seems confused. Betting is still happening, though it's obvious few know where to lay the money. Bruce's stoic takes a stance with an extended and perfectly muscular arm at the guard. The giraffe, however, just wobbles its head wildly and, like a rocking horse out of control, charges towards Bruce, swinging its head down into his side, I should say. Bruce is quick to block, but the sheer force lifts him 20 feet up and leaves him to fall. Bruce quickly rolls out the fall, then reassesses his approach. Realizing he cannot possibly deliver enough damage to a beast of this size and power, Bruce taunts it with wildcat sounds that ring old memories of the Serengeti in the great tall giraffe's mind. Whipping into a frenzy, the giraffe charges where the sound was made, and Bruce rolls ably out of the way. Unable to come to a stop, it slams into the wall. This is repeated several times, dazing the giraffe, but also teaching it, for the giraffe is smarter than Bruce assumed. The giraffe then calms itself and begins to follow every step of Bruce's in complete sync. Bruce, recognizing the stalemate and being famously smarter than a giraffe, rushes towards the giraffe but slides underneath at the point of contact, causing the giraffe to overshoot and slam into a post, knocking it down for a TKO. All right. Well, if you missed the first half, it was kindergarten class versus the Blob. So, what did we do today? Well, we took the game, Super Fight, and we didn't play it exactly as intended. I pulled random cards that have opponents on them. Chat picked their opponent, I picked one, and then we fought in these stories. The black cards, which we brought in the second one, are like special abilities or debuffs or, you know, various other kind of challenges. And our winners of the night were the kindergarten class and Bruce Lee, both chat's competitors, because they got to choose first. It would be interesting to see Bruce Lee beat up a classroom of kindergarten children in a story, but also I'm pretty sure Bruce Lee would win that, and I'm not too sure how funny that would be. Which means that I just want to do our next section. I sort of did things a little out of order today to reward those who so want to reward. Big Drew says, Cards Against Humanity to build next week's story. I do have Cards Against Humanity. I am concerned at the outcome and how that might be alienating to certain parts of the crowd. I do really enjoy that game, but it's pretty offensive. Which means it is time for Left on Red, which is something that I normally do first, but I'm doing it second this time. Left on Red is where I give you a recommendation of something I left on red. In other words, I read. The one I'm going to recommend, which I can't remember if I've recommended before, but seems increasingly prescient in these times, especially if you're American, is Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 1972. Now, one thing I will say, if you've never read Hunter S. Thompson, If you've never read Hunter S. Thompson, this is probably not a good one to start with. It's very thick. It is technically a bunch of releases that he did over the course of 1972 following the campaign of McGovern and Nixon, Richard Nixon. He was a supporter of McGovern. And it is a really fascinating take, but it is more scrabbly and broken and meandery than his earlier stuff like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or which is the one I would recommend if you've never read him. Truly one of the best English language novels of the 20th century. But here's why I think this is really interesting. If you do not care in the least about politics, you probably wouldn't get much out of it. But he's actually really savvy, and I think the thing that stood out for me was how much still applied. He's got this amazing quote in there that I'm not going to butcher, but it's about his observations about how if America re-elects Richard Nixon, which they do, that kind of America needs to stop lying to itself about who they are. And he has a fairly colorful way of explaining it, what it would mean. But on the whole, I think the one thing that is respectable about it is Hunter, for all his craziness and for all his drugs that he was famous for and all of that, Hunter was actually a really surprisingly sharp person. Like he really can suss out BS so fast. And I think he doesn't get enough credit in people's memories of him. Okay, so that's my recommendation. It's a thick read. I would recommend that you sort of piece it out, like read a little bit here and there. I don't know that I would sit down and go through all... How many pages is this thing? 500 pages at once. But nonetheless, it's a book I enjoyed, but I also really like Hunter. So I'm sure that helps. And... we're going to do actually one more thing, which is the first time that I've done it in a long time. Which is, and I'll tell you why I'm deciding to do this again in a second here. And that is Unqualified Advice. Big Drew says, can we ready Goodnight Moon next? I could read you Goodnight Moon. So, unqualified advice. Unqualified advice, I don't do that often because I would like to think that for the most part I don't have a lot of writers watching me. Because I am trying to reach people that, enjoy reading and maybe don't typically do too much of it or aren't as experienced with storytelling. Not that I mind having writers in my audience. But unqualified advice is kind of for the writers or people, not necessarily professional writers, though. It's sort of little bits of advice. And what kind of prompted me to bring it back this week is a friend of mine has been asking me a lot of questions about writing when they discovered that I write. Sort of an acquaintance I know. And it prompted me to answer something that I thought was interesting. Just trying to find the quote about it. It was about endings. They said, when do you... there it is. Do you keep writing until the work feels done, or do you say this is a 15-chapter novella and then only write 15 chapters? So to the second part first, actually, no, you don't decide length ahead of time. You might have an idea of it. You might say, I want this to be a short story. And I guess if you've been writing for a while, you probably could have a good sense of like what you could manage in 600 words or whatever, and you would probably make that approach. But for the most part, if you're just writing a story, you never know how long it's going to be. There's stories. I'm writing a story right now, which is sort of a take on the AI in a ship thing. That was supposed to be a short story that I would have out for New Year's, and it kind of got away from me and has been getting longer. And I don't know that it's going to stay longer, but at least the writing of it has gone longer, and because it kind of needed to. But to the other part of the question, do you keep writing until the work feels done? And I'll give you the response that I gave the person who asked me this. My favorite quote about this kind of idea is that art isn't finished, it's abandoned. In other words, you reach a point where you're like, that's probably all I'm going to do. I don't know really what else. It doesn't feel complete. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to pair this with another quote that somebody told me of a writer who said, if I knew I wasn't going to like anything I write, I would have written more. Same idea. At some point, you just kind of go, that's enough, and you throw it into the world. And I'm sorry if that kind of de-romanticizes stories for you, but I hate to say it, that's almost universally the case for writers. There are writers that are really precise and have endings in mind, and that's why they write it, but the vast majority, you reach a point where you're just, I'm done. I can do no more with this. And that's about it. Art is just abandoned and thrown to the wolves to enjoy the scraps that you kept. So in terms of endings, I mean, I have a lot more that I could say. I have a lot more that I could say about endings. My favorite thing to say about endings is really unhelpful, which is that endings start in the beginning, and every sentence should be progressing towards an ending. But the thing is, though, and this is the last piece of advice I'll give, you really won't have any idea what an ending is in the first draft. You won't have any idea where your story is really going in the first draft, even if you wrote out an outline ahead of time, which is why first drafts, it's so important just to get them done. It's clay on the table, then you can work with them. And to take a quote from Neil Gaiman, the second draft is where you pretend that you intended that ending all along. Okay. Suki Matsuba says, not abandoned, surrendered. I like that as well. Okay. Anyways, that's probably enough. We've hit an hour. It's good to see you people. For those who were here for the fights, let me know if you guys liked it. Like, if I feel like at least even my core audience would enjoy doing that again, I might do it once a month or something like that, because I feel like there's still more I could do with it. I imagine I wouldn't do it forever because it's probably going to get old, but I might also dig through and find some other books. And if there's anything else you want me to do next week, by the way, we're still kind of doing our antidepressant month. We did cards, board games is the thing that cheers me up a bit with my friends out there. But if there's something else you guys want to do together in our little community to get us through the bleakness of January and February, let me know. And I can probably arrange it. I did have somebody ask about Disney villains. We might do that. I don't know what I would do with it yet. I may also do something with video games. I'm hesitant to do stuff with video games, even though it is obviously a narrative form, because everybody's doing stuff with video games, and I don't want to be a streamer of that sort. But there are some that I would be interested in showing you guys that are basically short stories that we could do in 2 hours. Because I can stream games now if I really wanted to. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what cheers you up. What's your brain candy food to get you through the dark days of winter? Thank you so much, everybody, for coming by. I appreciate your time, and I hope you had fun. And remember that Bruce Lee could take a giraffe, even being a pacifist. It's a fact now. You can go wherever you like, folks, but you can't stay here. Get out of my shop. It's closed. Thank you very much.